Who's that? Commander Claw. Who's bad? Commander Claw. Welcome to another 3-minute EDH Deck Tech. Today's commander is Rosnakht, Heir of Roghahh. I feel like I'm speaking Russian. But anyway, that's besides the point. Why are you coming to this video? Because building mono red one-drop commanders is actually pretty tough. So we're going to give you a strategy and an outlook on how to play with a mono red commander during a commander match against 3 other players. Its strengths: it is a one-drop. That means you should be able to cast it on your first turn. And when you do that, look at your opponent's face. They do not like that feeling that your commander out is on turn 1 and it could be devastating. Or you can get the early game advantage, which leads to a second strength: playing the early game. Early game means you'll be able to cast cards on turn 1, 2, 3 consistently. Okay. Next up is the mid game. Mid game is the deciding factor where you need to somehow deal a lot of damage or get an advantage to deal even more damage. But first, let's read Rosnakt's Heir of Roghahh's ability. It is a Kobold warrior. It has Battle Cry. Whenever this creature attacks, each other attacking creature gets +1/+0 until end of turn. Then it has Heroic. Whenever you cast a spell that targets Rosnakht, Heir of Roghahh, create a 0/1 red Kobold creature token named Kobolds of Care Keep. Okay, moving on to the early game, you need to attach auras to it. And when you attach auras to it, you're going to be able to draw cards and create an 0/1 Kobold token. When I say you're going to be able to draw cards, you're playing auras that will allow you to draw cards. And introducing those cards are Dragon Mantle, Epiphany Storm. Dragon Mantle has, when it enters the battlefield, draw a card. It also has tap a red mana. This creature gets fire breathing, where you get to add +1/+0. Next up is the Epiphany Storm. It's another one-drop. Enchantment creature has tap, discard a card, draw a card. You want to draw cards early because you're going to be using cards. And if you ever played a mono red deck, you lose cards fast. Moving on to 2 more draw card auras, we have is Prophetic Ravings. A creature has haste and tap, discard a card, draw a card. Next up we have Sticky Fingers. Okay, it gives your creature menace. Then it says whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, create a treasure token. Then when your creature dies, draw a card. So not only is this mana rent with treasure token, it gives your creature menace. So your defenders need 2 blockers. Then next up we have is the mid game. Introducing the Polymorph Effects. And Polymorph Effects, if you do not know, is an ability that lets you exchange a creature or an artifact for another by revealing cards from the top of your library until you find another card that shares that type. So we're going to be introducing a Planeswalker called Luca Coppercoat. He does this exact ability and is his second loyalty ability. For -2, exile a target creature you control, then reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a creature card with higher converted mana costs. Put that card onto the battlefield and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. This is perfect because Rosnakht only costs 1 red mana, and you're going to load your deck with big, powerful red or artifact creatures if you're rolling with a mono red deck. Okay? Then next up we have is Transmogrify. It does the same exact thing except for you will be exiling a creature. What is important is the phases when you do this. Depending on what happens, let's say scenario 1 is before you attack, you want a powerful creature that you want to attack with and take a gamble to reveal. You cast Transmogrify or you use Luca's ability in the first main phase. So then when you go to your attack phase, you can play with a creature that hopefully has haste that you put in there and attack that turn. Next up is the card Reality Scramble and Fireflux Squad. Reality Scramble is literally the same thing except for it's a sorcery. This time it says put target permanent you own on the bottom of your library. Reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a card that shares a card type with that permanent. So what's good about this card targets a permanent. It could be another land, it could be another artifact, it could be another creature, it could be an enchantment that you're looking for. The second best thing about this card, it has the ability Retrace. Retraces, you may cast this card from your graveyard by discarding a land card in addition to paying its other cost. So it's almost like a flashback where you get to play the card a second time. And trust me, if you have anything, if you're rummaging, and rummaging effects is where you discard a card to draw a card, generally in mono red, You want to do this retraceability because you're going to discard this card and cast it later on. Next card up is Fireflux Squad. For 4 mana, is a 4/3 human soldier that has haste. He says, whenever a Fireflux Squad attacks, you may exile another target attacking creature you control. If you do, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a creature card. Put that card onto the battlefield tapped and attacking on the rest of your bottom of your library in a random order. So this one is great if you're going to attack with, let's say you have one of those tokens, those 01 Cabal Keep tokens, and you swing with a Fireflux Squad. You can transmorgify, polymorph effect that 0/1 token into something bigger, better, nastier, just bringing your attack phase even more menacing. Now moving on to creatures that are probably out of most people's budget, but are well worth stacking your deck with. For example, Blightsteel Colossus. We all know what he does. Trample, Infect, Indestructible. He has Infect. If he deals at least 10 damage, that person gets 10 poison counters, and they lose the game. Otherwise, you have the Eldrazi's. I just chose Ulamog because he's there. He's a 10/10 Indestructible. Whenever you cast it, destroy target permanent, and they have Annihilator 4. You want to load your decks with these guys. But if you're looking for a more budget-friendly version of these guys, or anything else besides dragons, I give you 4 more. So let's go with the Heavyweight Demolisher. It is a construct, artifact creature, 8/6 with menace, and at the beginning of your upkeep, tap Heavyweight Demolisher unless you pay 3 red mana. Okay, that's kind of taxing, but it's still an 8/6 with menace, but it has the Unearth ability. So let's say you discarded him, you get to play him again for 8 mana. That's not bad. That's not bad. Rummaging Effects. Take advantage of your rummaging effects. Next up, we have a Cityscape Leveler. It is another construct for 8 mana. It is an 8/8 trample. It says whenever you cast a spell and whenever Cityscape Leveler attacks, destroy up to 1 target non-land permanent. Its controller creates a tap Power Stone token and has Unearth for 8. Not only does this card come back from the graveyard with haste, it can destroy permanents, non-land permanents that your opponents control. That's what you want to do in mono red, and it's friendlier than destroying lands. The next 2 cards that I put on here is Capricious Hellraiser from the Phyrexia All Will Be One. For 3 colors, 3 red. It's a Phyrexian dragon that's able to cost less if you have 9 or more cards in your graveyard. We're not worried about that here. It has flying, it's a 4/4, and whenever it enters the battlefield, exile 3 cards at random from your graveyard. Choose a non-creature, non-land card from among them and copy it. You may cast a copy without paying its mana cost. Bam! It is another spell slinger coming onto the battlefield. That's what you want. So if you polymorph this card onto the battlefield and you got some, really good cards in your graveyard, you get to choose 3 and utilize them again. All right. Next up, we have Soulful Mayhem Dominus. If we don't know what he does now, he's super popular from Phyrexia All Will Be One. It is a Phyrexian Horror. If a source you control will deal non-combat damage to an opponent or a permanent an opponent controls, it deals double that damage to that player or permanent instead. Exactly. Anything that deals that's not combat damage, you get to double it. That is going to how you win the game here. Thank you for watching the video on Rosnakht, the Heir of Roghahh. Please like and subscribe and comment on anything that you feel that you liked about this video or didn't like about this video. Otherwise, these 2 videos on the screen are suggestions from YouTube.